The Dale Show.
Hello, welcome to the Dale Show, episode 9. I brought Geoff back since he
Hi, everybody.
did such a good job / tolerated me talking for over 2 hours last episode.
That was a lot of fun, though.
And I got to warn you, bud, you got your work cut out for you this week because I had some oatmeal and my girl, she has this MCT oil, nut oil. And I'm like, well, MCT oil, that makes my brain work. So I should eat a bunch of that.
Yeah.
So my brain works so I can remember words and shit. Because my biggest thing, like if you ever seen my podcast of anything, is I always know what word I want, but I can't think of it.
It doesn't get there. I know. And I sit there and I'm like, it's that, Dale. It's this.
Yeah. And like for whatever reason, MCT oil is like helps your brain work. So it helps me do that.
Cool.
But I didn't take into effect that I would mix a whole bunch in with my oatmeal. And it just makes me feel like I drank so much caffeine. So I'm jacked. So Geoff has to work extra hard to keep me on the rails. So basically the way this works, I don't know if this is offensive to Geoff or anything, is I did a bunch of research and then I talk about something and Geoff is like my weightlifting spotter partner. Every time I like get just too distracted, he's like, hey, come back. Or he asks me a question, or he says, Dale, that's way too crazy. And I say it gets crazier because it always gets
crazier.
A little crazier.
It's never not gotten crazier. So yeah, I'm here to keep you on track.
Okay.
That is my job and my duty, and try and keep you under 2 hours this time.
Nice. And you figure since I was like, Dale, you're like, you just said you're all jacked up from MCT oil. I bet you're not going to drink too much coffee on this podcast.
What have you got for your drink today?
Well, that's my second confession from one of my Christmas presents, a 20-ounce Yeti cooler full of the good stuff that I made. It's so
tapered.
Good.
Tapered on the bottom for your
so
pleasure.
It fits in couples because it's so big.
So wide at the top.
But this
reminds me of something. I can't put my finger on it. It's at the base, it's skinny and it gets thicker toward the top. What could that be?
That's like the opposite of my usual cups.
Yeah.
Totally. So this I had already filled with like French vanilla flavored cappuccino coffee. And then I was like, and then the MCT oil kicks in. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be responsible and not drink the 20 ounces of caffeinated beverage I already made because it's too delicious to waste.
You can't waste that. You got to have that.
And I'm a green warrior who worries about the world. And if I throw away coffee, that wrecks the carbon footprint. Is that how it works?
Yeah, because yes, in a way, you've had somebody who's gone and harvested the beans and then dried them, and there's all that production value that goes into coffee beans. They've been shipped across in a burlap bag. They've been sent to the store. They've been roasted artistically by somebody who's listening for the crack and waiting to roast the coffee at the right time. And then it gets bagged and resealed and shipped off to a store in a truck and then placed on a shelf and held in a retail location. And then it's taken home by Dale and it's ground into fine powder and then it's brewed with a waste of water. And then you're like, I don't want this stuff in it. Coffee's like one of those things, right? Like there's a whole huge production value behind coffee.
So I know we were going to do an episode about like aliens and shit, but I think we should maybe just spend 2 hours listening to Geoff talk about making coffee because that was great.
So I worked for a coffee roaster for a number of years. Yeah. And I know my way around. I like how it all gets processed. Did you know that decaffeinated coffee in Canada, there is one decaffeinated coffee processing plant and it's here in Burnaby. It's called the Swiss Water Decaf, and it's up just up the street from my place.
Oh shit. I heard
you know where it is.
I don't know where it is, but I know Swiss Water Decaf. I thought that was like just a process they did in Switzerland. I didn't know it was the name of the plant.
So they do. There's 2 Swiss Water Decaf plants. There's one in Burnaby and there's one in Switzerland. And that's a way that they extract the coffee or extract the caffeine from the beans.
That's very interesting. So how nuts do you think people are going when they're like, get to the good stuff of why I come to the Dale Show?
Dale,
alien
you came to
stuff.
listen to Jeff talk about coffee. No, we
Yeah.
want to hear about aliens. I want to hear about aliens because that's my jam.
I mean, I didn't even tell you what we were talking about
You
today.
didn't. This is a complete surprise to me.
Okay, so I know you've got to be wondering, be like, what's Dale going to talk to me about? And I almost spoiled it once by tweeting about watching YouTube videos at like 3 a.m. when I should be in bed. But
That's when
Jeff,
you watch YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I just recently rejoined Twitter. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and I follow Dale and I follow Outrage Pod. And then somebody else, an insurance company, followed me, and a few old school friends joined back in. But I have like 10 followers. It's pretty fun.
nice.
But yeah, so I see
That's a
Dale's
sweet
stuff.
spot.
It's a sweet spot.
That's
Cool.
the only
Not-
stuff
not-
you need to see.
Yeah, it's not enough to piss me off, and it's just enough to keep me entertained.
Okay, so
What are we talking about today?
did you watch my show on Alien War?
I did. I
Okay.
did watch that. That was a long one too. Andrea
Yeah.
did a great job sitting in and like staying cool for that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Putting up with
war.
Alien War.
Alien war.
Dude,
Yeah.
I blew out my voice so bad. If you haven't seen it, I basically did that because when you say the term Alien War, it just sounds like a
Yeah.
death metal song.
You have to say it that way. There's like no
Yeah.
other way to. I get it. I totally get it. There's no other way to say it.
I did do some Tibetan throat singing, which I could call it throat singing, but I don't know if I could call it Tibetan throat singing because I don't
You're
know if
not
it's-
from Tibet.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like it's the same. But anyways, I was doing that on that episode.
Dutch
and
throat singing.
It like cuts your mic out right away.
Yeah, because
Dutch
it clips
throat
it at the
singing.
peak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll clip your peaks and you won't be able to make. I know about microphones and coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this kind of harkens back to my Alien War episode a bit
Alien War.
because we talk about the Nordic aliens.
Right.
And how familiar are you with the human genome?
I would say medium familiar.
Okay.
University biology familiar with the human genome.
Because
Yeah.
I was 0% familiar with this. And then I was listening to my latest audiobook I purchased. It was called Exogenesis. It's by one Bruce Fenton, who is the science editor on the podcast Earth Ancients, which I bring up pretty much every episode. And
Forward by Phil Collins from Genesis. That'd be pretty funny.
Or whatever.
I could feel the aliens coming in the air tonight.
How about this? Name a band member of Genesis that's not Phil Collins.
Stuart Copeland. That's the beat.
Oh, you can.
No, it's not. He's from the Police. He's the
I was
drummer
gonna say
from the
because
Police.
those are the Exogenesis.
Yeah, Phil Collins. Fuck these guys. It's Exogenesis time.
Okay, so Bruce Fenton, who, by the way, is shadow banned across the entire internet for some fucking reason. I think it's because on Twitter he's hitting he's anti-vax, and he's kind of hitting tweeting back, as one might say. So maybe because I don't know why you would shadow ban a guy who talks about like aliens making human hybrids. Boom, that's what the episode is about. Human hybrids.
I'm so stoked right now. Okay, cool.
But I couldn't find Bruce Fenton on Wikipedia. I even tweeted at him. I'm like, are you shadow banned on Wikipedia? Because the guy has like 5 novels. They're in the Amazon bookstore. So he's not
easily accessible, right? It's not like it's.
Yeah. Because I've looked up alien books in Amazon, like on Audible, and they're just not there. But Bruce Fenton's there. So I figure he has some air of legitimacy left to his name. But apparently he's banned. So I tweeted him. I was like, hey, I wanted to look up some facts from your book, Exogenesis. Okay, back on track. What happened was I was listening to Exogenesis, and he's basically going over how aliens came to Earth 780,000-ish years ago. And that's a number that keeps coming up with him. It's kind of like, like how people sometimes their whole career revolves around one sort of fact, and everything is like kind of falls like kismet in with that. I would say that's
specific periods of time. Yeah, it's classic in like paleontology. They pick a specific era to like research and study, and they only talk about that one specific time.
Okay, so he was talking in this book. He's talking about aliens, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. Not sure I believe it. He's talking about how he does these shamanistic rituals, and he goes back in time to the like he goes and he's in like some alien like however long ago. I'm like, sure, I'll go along for the ride. And then he's talking, and he gets into the scientific proof of how aliens splice the DNA of humans to make modern humans from pre-hybrids. And he starts talking, and I'm like, all right, whatever. But then he says something, and it's like he said chromosome 2, which I'm like, I know nothing about human genomes, like I said before, but he says that this is what grabbed me, and this is the whole germ of this whole episode. I decided to do this episode from this one tidbit. So he's talking about how humans have what is it? 40
Excuse me.
46 chromosomes, and that's 23 chromosomal pairs. So
Right.
chromosomal pair is you get one chromosome from your mom and one from your dad, and they make a chromosomal pair.
Correct.
So you have 23 of those. Altogether, you have 46. Our kind of nearest relatives that aren't humans are giant apes, like we got chimpanzees, orangutans, and gorillas. They all have 48 chromosomes or 24 chromosomal pairs. So you're like, oh, that's crazy. We have less. You figure we'd have more because we're better.
Right.
But the reason we only have 23 instead of 24 is chromosomal 2 is a fused chromosome. End
Right.
to end. Did you say wait?
No, I said right. No, that's right.
Oh.
So I actually just read this too. Yeah, you're totally right. So yeah. Anyway, carry on.
No,
Keep going.
give me science point.
No, that was pretty much it. I just read this. I read this recently, and it had nothing to do with aliens. It had nothing to do with anything else. It was a scientific piece that was saying that the second chromosome is actually fused. It's actually two pieces. So this was in a science journal.
What a coincidence!
I read this like a month ago. I'm not kidding.
That's
it has
crazy
nothing to
that
do with
you
aliens.
read about this.
Yeah. So it was exactly this topic that the chromosome is fused, and that's why it appears that we have one less. We actually have the same amount as a primate. So that's why we're primated. But that fused chromosome has something to do with our developmental superiority, shall we call it, over primates.
Okay, so what Bruce Fenton is supposing in his book Exogenesis, Human Hybrids, is that 780,000 years ago, aliens came to Earth, and they found out like they didn't take a primate, like they went back. So it's like whatever was before. I keep saying aliens instead of apes. So
whatever was before apes. So pre-humans.
Yeah. So humans and apes kind of they come from one specific like similar ancestor, and then they split off. So what Bruce Fenton is supposing is this missing link that we still can't find was genetically modified by aliens, and the non-genetically modified ones evolved into monkeys, and the genetically modified ones evolved into like Denisovans, Neanderthals, and Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
So
Homo erectus probably first.
Yeah,
and then,
Homo erectus, whatever, all that. Basically, the human line.
Us. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I was like, that sounds crazy. And it's like with all this stuff I'm into, I listen to a lot of how you say, non-factually supported.
You have a word for this.
Yeah.
Adrian Mack brought this up on one of your previous podcasts. He had a word for it: occluded history.
No, occluded history is like.
Oh, no, that's different. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
that's
stuff you don't hear about that happens
on purposely removed. Like,
correct.
So instead of
sorry, my bad.
Conspiracy theory, yeah.
I got excited about that for a second. I was like, I can harken back. It is.
No, this like what I'm saying is I'll listen to stuff, and it's like because I like batshit crazy stuff.
I know you do.
And
that's why we're friends.
It's so great. Like I'll listen to a podcast about a woman talk about rainbow people, and I'll be like, yeah. And then as soon as it's over, I'm like, well, that's gone. So I was like, this chromosomal 2 thing, this can't be real. So I was like, I did the Googles or the DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
Because that's the only way I find stuff about Fenton,
right.
because he's shadow banned off of Google. So
you're the only person I know who uses DuckDuckGo. Like for legitimate research purposes.
And it's funny because I started as a lark because one of the crazy podcasts I listen to, they're like, oh, you can't trust Google. And I'm like, I always find stuff. And I was like, I'll see about DuckDuckGo. And it was like, at first it was more just, it was like I was getting less sponsored content. Like with Google, you Google shoes or something, and you're gonna
The first three things are ads.
Yeah, and Nike or something. But on DuckDuckGo, you Google shoes, and it's like some local company who makes shoes. Like it's just that sort of different thing, where it's like they don't juice the results to give you the ones you want first.
The Dale Show, brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Back on track, Dale. The chromosome fusing, and tell me more.
Okay,
my job here is done.
Yes, my DuckDuckGoing so much. Maybe DDGing.
There you
Make
go.
that a verb. Is that the right word?
DDGing. Yeah. Verb in it.
So I looked, I went on PBS and I was like, there's nobody more trustworthy than PBS, because if they weren't trustworthy, they'd be less boring. That's how you could tell someone's trustworthy.
If you turn it off after half an hour.
Yeah.
Well, this is too real. Click, entertain me, somebody else.
Yeah, this isn't funny at all. This must be true. I'm out.
I'm learning things. Click.
Which is one of the reasons why I used to hate nonfiction so much, was because it was all super boring. But now it's like, I'm into like.
You're craving that information.
Yeah, now like I got into history and I'm like, oh, history is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's just people killing each other. Ridiculous.
That's pretty much it. And then writing it down. And history is written by the victors. Whoever wins gets to write the history down.
Smart guy quote right there. Giving us giving this podcast some cred there, Geoff.
Dropping some knowledge.
Okay.
All right, so back on track.
Okay. I'm going to do that thing where I read something out loud.
Okay.
And everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah. Hey.
This is where you get about 5 of the words wrong, but I'm here now. So instead of watching your podcast and yelling at you one way where you're not hearing me about the word, it's fucking do it right, Dale. Okay, here we go.
It's the ultimate courtesy because you get to yell at me in real time.
In real time. You're going to hit it. You're going to flawlessly nail this.
Full disclosure part, what are we on, 4?
Yep.
Geoff told me he likes ASMR in a deep male voice. Should I read this?
Yes, please do. Yeah, I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm drinking a vodka cranberry juice.
I'm gonna try this. Like I suck at reading, period. Just when I'm doing my normal voice. So we'll see. Okay. In 2005, a peer-reviewed scientific journal published results of the tests. It turns out that chromosome 2, which is unique to the human lineage of evolution, emerged as a result of head-to-head fusion of 2 ancestral chromosomes that remain separate in other primates. Is that good?
Nipples are so hard right now.
So hard to read that quiet.
Yeah.
As you can hear my voice. I'm like reading that. I'm like, nobody's going to be able to hear this. Okay, so 3 genetic indicators provide strong, if not conclusive, evidence of fusion. First, the banding, or dye pattern, of human chromosome 2 closely matches that of 2 separate chromosomes found in apes, chimp chromosome 2, and an extra chromosome that does not match any other human chromosomes. Second, a chromosome normally has one centromere or central point, at which a chromosome's 2 identical strands are joined. Yet remnants of a second, presumably inactive centromere can be found on human chromosome 2. And third, whereas a normal chromosome has readily identifiable repeating DNA sequences called telomeres at both ends, chromosome 2 also has telomere sequences not only at both ends, but also in the middle. So PBS is all like, they're not saying it's aliens. They're just saying like, yo, what the fuck? Our chromosome 2 is definitely 2 different chromosomes fused together end to end.
Yeah.
I always do this. This is my...
Your end-to-end signifier?
Do you think touching tips is the same as our chromosome 2? Is that why we find touching tip jokes so funny? Because our chromosomes are fused together?
Are fused together exactly like that's probably nothing to do with it, but I like where you're going with that. Touching tips brought to you by the Dale Show.
Before we get we kind of do this on the fly. Full disclosure, part 5. Seeing how the sausage is packed.
Yeah. That's very appropriate with touching tips. See how the sausages connect together at the ends.
Yeah, because you can't just go, our chromosome 2 is fused, so we're obviously not we didn't get there naturally. So
Yeah.
I Googled some, or I DDG'd some genetic defects that come from chromosome 2. So it's weird. If you look at some of these, you can kind of reverse engineer how the fusing of these two chromosomes would affect how we evolved as human beings. So the HDAC4, this is a genetic defect. The signs and symptoms of this condition vary widely, but affected individuals generally have intellectual disability, behavioral problems, obesity, and skeletal abnormalities that often includes and skeletal abnormalities that often include unusually short fingers and toes, like a
Little person.
monkey.
Oh, okay. I went there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, yeah, because
Monkeys have
like
long fingers, don't they? Because they have
like, don't they have
No, they
super huge palms? And okay, I gotta DDG.
You got to look that up.
picture.
I think you got to DDG a picture of
I
monkeys.
feel like
I think they have long hands because when they're climbing trees, it has like that genetic advantage of having longer fingers. And
I always thought they had big palms and small fingers.
well, now I don't know either.
Oh my god.
My mental image of a monkey has my mental image of a monkey, they have long fingers.
Okay.
I'm scared to type in
gorillas-
monkey fingers.
It looks like little monkeys.
Oh, they're like medium fingers.
Like little monkeys have long fingers, like spider monkeys and stuff. But it looks
Dude,
like
their hands look like
gorillas-
ours. It's super freaky.
Yeah, man. I looked up gorilla hands, and it looks like they have the same hands as us, but it looks
Yeah.
like their palm goes up
A little
halfway up
further.
to their first knuckle. So, but there's a lot of
They're-
them where they because they look like this. Also, I have abnormally large palms.
I do too, though. I have pretty big palms too.
Because your fingers are supposed to be longer than your palms.
Yeah.
I might have stretched my palms out in my teenage years. If you know what I mean.
I have no idea what you mean. None whatsoever.
Okay, so that's the HDAC4, and a lot of and the weird thing about these genetic defects is they're all omission defects, where it's not
Right.
where it's like you get like the abnormally small fingers if one of the genes from this chromosome is missing.
Okay.
If you're listening to this and you don't know what genes and chromosomes, so basically, chromosome is a long string of genes. I might just be outing myself for not really knowing what I'm talking about. And
yeah, it's a long string of genes. That's a helix.
Yeah.
The helix is all the chromosomes into a gene.
And is the DNA
the,
the two chromosomes combined?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The DNA is all the pieces together.
Yeah. Okay, so these genetic defects are when that string of DNA, the two chromosomes paired together, are missing a specific gene along that helix, you get these defects. So if you're missing one of the genes from this, you get monkey hands. Like, wow, we kind of landed here or there. But the weird thing is this affects the neural development of humans, which, spoiler alert for the future, 780,000 years ago is the time humans had this abnormal brain increase and neural activity, which basically turned us from monkeys into
what we are now.
Apex predators using our brains. It's basically when our brains started growing so big and we got smarter and cognitive.
We've got these cool appendages. Let's make tools and weapons. And
monkeys have those too, but
yeah, no, I know, but they don't know how to use them properly.
Yeah, because they don't have the brain. They have the hardware, but not the software.
That's right. You gotta have the software. Yeah. We got the patch. They never got the software patch, and now we're advanced.
That's all I know about computers.
End of computer knowledge list.
The next one is the Mbd5 gene.
Okay.
Provides instructions for a protein that likely regulates the expression of genes controlling the production of proteins that are involved in neurological functions such as learning, memory, and behavior. So how big our brains grow and how much we can remember and what we behave like, that's also on chromosome 2.
Right.
The plot thickens.
Bum, bum, bum.
The SATB2 protein directs development of the brain and craniofacial structures. and a reduction in the protein's function impairs their normal development, leading to features of the condition. And I looked up this condition, and it's like weird. People will have like if you look at my face from the side,
Yeah.
you'll notice how much hair is going back, but you'll also see
Yes, I have the same problem.
how my face is not flat. Like if you have the SATB fucked up thing, your face is just like straight down.
Right. Yes.
Like
monkeys.
There
Gotcha.
you go.
Roger that. Yeah, I don't think I have that same thing going.
Okay, and then another abnormality with chromosome 2 is called chromosome. What's it called? Ring chromosome 2. So that's basically like, so we had chromosome 2 fuse, so it's one big long one.
He's touching tips again.
And now if that top one, if the top of like, so chromosome is 2 pairs. So you have these 2 long ones. And if they do this, they make a ring. That's something that happens with chromosome 2. So I guess like, since it like it's stuck in the one spot, sometimes it sticks on the other end as well.
Yeah.
So
it goes backwards, which ends up in the abnormalities.
Mm-hmm. A ring chromosome is formed when a break occurs at both ends of the chromosome and the broken ends join together to form a circular structure. Individuals with this chromosome abnormality often have developmental delay, small head size, which we got because our brain grew so big, and slow growth before and after birth, heart defects, and distinctive facial features. Now, the major important one here that you're not going to know why it's so important is the slow growth before and after birth.
Okay.
Because what Bruce Fenton is supposing in his thing is the reason that humans are born so basically useless when we're babies is because since our brain grew too much, if we were to grow to the normal size of most mammals do inside, the women wouldn't be able to pass us through their hips because our heads would be too big for our bodies. So we're birthed sooner in our developmental process so that we're still like soft bone and stuff, so we can actually fit through the pelvic birthing canal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now that's all the science stuff with chromosome 2. Do you have any questions about that on behalf of the listener?
No, I think you've explained it relatively well. I just no, I don't have any questions. I'm good. So far, so good. I'm with you.
Yeah. I basically just wanted to show that this chromosome 2 has a lot to do with the way our brains look, the way our faces look, and our hands look.
Yeah.
Because if you were to say, take this chromosome, and one thing he says is that, I don't know if I should say this. So okay, I'll save it for later. So another weird thing about this, was if you don't want to listen to the 17-hour audiobook, which you should, just pumping Bruce Fenton's tires. This book is definitely worth listening to because it talks a lot about aliens and aliens coming to Earth and stuff. Should I start at the beginning of the story then? Do you think?
Let's do that. Okay, so what have we established so far in the timeline? 78,000 years ago.
780,000.
780,000 years ago.
It's a hard number to say for some reason.
It is a weird one. 780,000 years ago, the theory is that aliens came to Earth, took the, at the time, most advanced monkey on the planet, proto monkey, and spliced gene 2 or fused gene 2, gene 2 and gene 3 possibly, or gene 2 and gene whatever, to create a larger expanse of growth of brain tissue and bone structure, for lack of a better term, for an overall general term. How's that sound?
Perfect.
So we're here. We're at this point.
Yeah.
Dale has established the way the gene works, how the gene slice made the gene fuse or gene slice, the gene splice has changed how at 780,000 years ago, it changed the way that the development happened in pre-human monkeys. And
I like to say proto-humans.
Proto-human monkeys. There we go. Okay, cool.
Proto-human just makes it sound like
it does make it sound more science. Yeah,
1980s sci-fi.
It's like proto-humans, and then because then we could go right now to post-human. After proto-human, we can go to post-human. What's next when we have chips implanted in our heads and USB fingers?
Or the gray aliens coming back from the future.
Right. Yeah,
which
totally.
is some people's theory of what gray aliens are. I'm not going to get to it.
Not going to get into it today.
I am
so that's
gonna,
where we're
however, I'm going to get into one of the three major alien races. The three
Okay.
major alien races are the Greys, the Nordic aliens, and the reptilians.
Yeah, we're talking about the Nordic aliens in this regard.
I talked about all three of those and how they're involved in like the alien war in the episode Alien War, which you should go back and listen to. But I want to revisit the Nordic aliens because supposedly these are the aliens that did this.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce Fenton doesn't say that it's the Nordic aliens that did all
Stop
this.
Up. Okay, what does he say?
He says it was
Cut you off
aliens
the wrong
from
spot.
the Pleiades, which is where Nordic aliens are a bunch of different races, they all come from the Pleiades.
I've heard that said as the Pleiades.
Pleiades. You're probably right.
Easier to say.
It's one of those words that is different when you have a British accent. Like, see,
Pleiades, yeah, aluminium.
Bruce Fenton probably said Pleiades, but I thought he was saying it wrong because he's British, and I didn't want to admit that I was wrong. Because Bruce Fenton has a British accent, so it's also a lot easier to listen to him.
Yeah, I come from a British background, so probably that's why I said that way too. Okay, anyway, so
one of my personal umbrages. I just got to point out that if you listen to Exogenesis, the narrator does have a dog shit voice because it's not Bruce Fenton, and it is one of the most heartbreaking things ever. Because the book is fucking amazing, but the narrator sucks. I don't think they should allow Audible book narrators to not have English
There's no
accents.
There's no screen. Yeah, totally. They have to. Like that's how. Like when I picture audiobooks in my head, like it's read by a British person.
Mm-hmm. Like side note, I started the audiobook of the Bible, which is over 70 hours long.
Wow.
And the reason I chose the version of the Bible I chose was because the narrator was British. That's it.
There you go. Yeah.
So, but it's like, and it's weird because that's like a big thing because all the different versions of the Bible say slightly different things about everything. Yeah. So that's neither here nor there. Actually, it's kind of a bit because if you go back to my first episode, the Anunnaki and the Bible, if you think about it, you could make these Nordic aliens who spliced humans the Anunnaki.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to talk about that. So
I'm not going to get into that because that's just something I was thinking like, oh yeah, that's like basically whenever you get into humans being made by a separate thing, you can replace that with the Anunnaki.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
So I want to touch back on Nordic aliens, just a short rundown of what they are. Just Jeff said he listened to Alien War, so he doesn't need an update. But some of you, I don't want you to be like on a boat out in the ocean because you didn't listen to Alien War. So
I wonder what Dale was talking about when he mentioned the Nordic aliens.
What are these Nordic aliens? Oh yeah, because if you also listen to just Bruce Fenton, he never says Nordic aliens. He always says they're from the Pleiades. And like I said, that's where the Nordic aliens come from. So in ufology, Nordic aliens are humanoid extraterrestrials purported to hail from the Pleiades star cluster within the Taurus constellation. I saved that right.
That's where my wife's from.
Could you imagine if it turned out we were all aliens and our like zodiac symbol was where we came from?
Actually, our star system, where we came from. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
What are you?
Yeah. I am a Cancer.
Oh, we wouldn't get to hang out anymore because I'm a Leo.
Oh man, yeah, you're like, oh, that's right, you're right after. We'd be neighbors. Yeah, totally.
I was supposed to be a Cancer, but then I was 2 weeks late.
Your birthday's in August?
July 28th.
Oh, July 28th. Yeah. That's right.
So
I'm July 7th. We're in the same month, but we're not in the same star cluster.
I'm at the beginning of the Leos.
Yeah, and I'm at the beginning of the Cancers.
Yeah.
Or the middle of the Cancers, maybe.
Middle Cancer, yeah.
Yeah, so Derek is a Leo too then, right? Because he's August. He's a month after me, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's probably why
from your other podcast.
We're just like loud assholes.
Yeah.
Derek is the co-host of Rage Factory.
My bad. Yeah.
Because 2022, you can't be a white male in your 40s with just one podcast. You have to have at least two.
Guest star on a bunch of different ones.
There you go.
Guest star. Wow, look at that. I'm just putting that in your mouth.
Hey,
guest host.
Don't let anybody tell you you're not a star, Jeff.
Star.
Especially with those beautiful glasses.
They actually, I have my the side has the cancer symbol on the side of my glass.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Did you get that on purpose, or is
Yeah, I had
just
that
a
on
brand
purpose.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Orange, and you could pick whatever you want engraved on the side of them. So I just had that because there
that's
was
actually
like
pretty sweet.
there wasn't any skulls or
Was there a
knives.
dick?
There was no dick, no skulls,
Mm.
no knives. So I went with the cancer symbol.
Nice, nice.
Cross
So,
knives or
yeah,
a dagger, something cool, you know.
I like how we're both in our 40s and we're like, we're so old. And we're like, they didn't have any skulls or knives.
Yeah.
Totally bunk.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Stupid
Oh,
glasses company.
funny thing that I was just told by Derek that we brought him up. He went to Italy and they were looking at Pompeii, and he was telling me that
Oh,
dicks were
yeah.
drawn everywhere in Pompeii because
Dude, I can take you on a
yeah,
tour of our neighborhood where
yeah.
all of the cement drawn dicks are. There are
Oh my
so
God.
many. There's so many
I
dicks in this neighborhood. It's unreal.
have never wanted to go on a neighborhood tour more.
Well, we should, if you're on vacation, you're on holidays, we should go for a quick walk
I
around
do
the
have the next
neighborhood.
2 days off.
Okay,
We're
cool.
doing this, Jeff.
Dick
We're gonna
walk.
go get
Dick walk
coffee.
2021. I love
I'm
that.
gonna fill up this Yeti with
Fill the
warm
Yeti.
coffee,
Yep.
and we're gonna drive. We're gonna walk around and look
Yeah.
at cement dicks.
I'm going to show you the dicks of Burnaby. They'll be fun.
The
Yeah.
dicks of Burnaby. We should make a fucking
The Dicks of Burnaby podcast. We're already doing that. That's what this one is.
yeah.
Yeah, the Dale
I
Show,
hope-
aka the Dicks of Burnaby.
I hope all the alien nerds are just dying inside. They're like, I came here for aliens.
I came here for
Quit
aliens.
talking about dicks.
Enough dicks. More aliens.
Okay.
Okay,
The-
back on track.
One more.
780,000 years ago.
Okay. One
Genes
more
were
off track
spliced.
thing. One more
Yeah.
off track thing.
Okay.
The reason I like to add humor and stuff into this so much is I will listen to all these podcasts about aliens and all this shit, and they take themselves too seriously. And I feel like it turns a lot of people off.
Yeah, like if we get lumped in with that too, where you're like, those guys are serious alien nerds, like it'll
Yeah.
come back to us at some point, right? People will be like, hey, that's a cool mug. Anyway, sorry, I
Oh, yeah,
got distracted. That's
It's-
rad. Sam
it's,
Squanch.
It's actually local.
Uh-oh.
It's from Vancouver. It's an indigenous.
That's cool.
Okay.
That's
just
rad.
side note. It's so nobody thinks that it's cultural appropriation. It was actually designed by Francis Horn Sr. of the Coast Salish. And I bought this after I
Sweet.
I found this right after I did the Sasquatch episode, I think. Did I
Wait,
have it?
question. Point of interest.
Yeah.
What was in the Yeti mug and now you're into this mug? What's going on here? How many coffees
Oh.
have you got going?
I pour the coffee from the Yeti mug into
Keeping
the
it warm.
Sasquatch
Roger
mug.
that. Okay.
Yeah, good question though.
See where you're
I
going.
also have this mug, which is just water.
Right. Yeah, I got water in the corksicle there, the keeping it cold.
Oh, nice.
And then I got the blackberry lemonade vodka drink going.
Ooh, delicious sounding.
Alien juice.
Okay. Back to the Nordic
780,000
aliens.
years ago, Nordic aliens. Let's do this. Okay.
I'm not
curious
cutting
about this.
anything. I'm not cutting any of this out, by the way.
It's the best part.
We're going raw dog.
Raw dog.
Okay. So that all happened because I said that the Nordic aliens come from the Pleiades. Wait, what was the right way to say it? Pleiades?
Pleiades.
Pleiades?
Pleiades. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, good.
Pleiades.
Pleiades.
I said it wrong in
It-
two different ways.
It's okay. It has that like AE backwards thing going on that makes it sound weird.
Okay, so the Pleiades in the Taurus constellation. They resemble Nordic Scandinavians. That's why they're called the Nordic aliens. Like there's no reason for them to be called Nordic aliens except for they look like people from Nordic Scandinavia. Professed contactees describe them as being big, 6 to 7 feet tall, about 2 meters, with long blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair skin.
That reminds me of you.
I don't have long hair, so I'm
Yeah.
obviously not an alien. Among
I don't have-
believers, Nordic aliens are often associated with spiritual growth and love and act as protectors of the experiencers. In contactee and ufology literature, Nordic aliens are often described as benevolent or even magical beings who want to observe and communicate with humans and are concerned about the Earth's environment and prospects for world peace. They are described as very benevolent beings who view humans as childlike and in need of guidance. Their mission on Earth is to assist humans in spiritual development and offer prophecies and predictions to those they contact. So this is like I said before, Bruce Fenton never talks about the Nordic people, but he also talks about like a star being and all these stuff that offers beneficial advice through like telepathy and stuff. So let's get right. So basically the start of this at 78,000 years ago is there's a crystalline ship orbiting Earth. It gets shot down by, I'm not sure who, some other aliens, I guess, because they were in a war. Bruce Fenton mentions a book where you could find more out about this. I'll just find out what that book
I
is
say that's a
called.
little out of nowhere that there was an alien war in the sky.
Yeah. And then I was like, and then the reason why I'm so upset that Bruce Fenton is shadow banned, because I was specifically looking for information about that, like what specific aliens shot down the crystal ship, what specific aliens were on the crystal ship, but I couldn't find it because he's shadow banned. So I'm just going to say the Nordic aliens were on the spaceship.
Okay.
And they were shot down by their enemies. Now, that could be wrong because I didn't read this other book.
We strive for accuracy here.
Okay, there's this girl, there's this female author named Valerie Barrow who wrote the book Alturinga, and she talks about all that in that book.
Okay.
So now
so there was a battle. There was a battle with the Nordic aliens somewhere in space on a crystalline ship, and then what happened?
So they got shot down, and a bunch of the survivors made it to Earth, and this is where they found these proto-humans, and they spliced them up, and they kind of had maybe nefarious means because they wanted to eventually come back and like, because there's a couple theories with aliens.
What's the motive? What's the motive of why they would want to do that? Did they need to procreate? Were they worried about getting back? Did they need more people to man a new ship to get them back home? Like, what was why would they take the proto-humans and create?
Because one of the things with aliens, like there's this like, it's weird because you have this huge canon like backstory of aliens that goes through different like authors and all this stuff. And one of the things that keeps coming up is aliens can't actually reproduce because of like maybe something happened on their home planet, or they've evolved past having sexual genes. So one thing that could have happened is they've evolved past reproducing sexually, and now they're like, you could consider them, like this comes up a lot, where you consider them biological robots, where
so they're basically over 40.
Yeah.
They're way past. They're 40 years old. Yeah. They're like, I am way past sexual reproduction at this point.
Yeah. So what would happen was they would make the material for humans, or not humans, sorry. They would make like a new being, and then they would just implant like a consciousness in that, whether you think of it as AI or the soul.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So totally. That makes more sense than reproducing over 40.
Yeah. This comes into effect a lot because some people would say this is why aliens get abducted. Oh, that reminds me, another thing from Alien War.
Uh-oh, here we go. Alien War.
I want to bring this up because this would be why the Greada Treaty makes sense. So in 1954, the Greada Treaty was signed between Eisenhower and the aliens. I think it was the Greys. It's like one of those things where they're kind of skittish with the actual facts.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about aliens, you can kind of just be like these guys and that guys and not give specifics. So that way it's harder to prove you wrong because you didn't give specifics. Basically what happened in 54, they're saying is Eisenhower agreed to let aliens abduct a certain amount of people for technology. Like the aliens would give them technology and they would abduct people. And that's why they need to abduct people. Because if aliens don't need humans to reproduce, you're like, why would they go through all this effort? Why would they fucking care about Earth?
They want to know what we know. They want to know how far we've advanced, or they want to know what we've come up with for technology, or they want to know how far, like.
Well, they know all the stuff about us because they can.
But then why would they need us?
Because they need us to reproduce.
That's
the whole reason. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're way more technological. It's like us going into like the mist
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
finding
So
gorillas and making a deal with the gorillas. It's like, what do we need from the gorillas? Nothing. We have better technology. We have all this stuff. But if we need the gorillas to make more human babies, then we got to be
right.
like, hey, can you give us some babies? Because if we start fighting a war with the gorillas and try to take their babies, then it's going to be like, we're not going to get good ones to make more humans with. Like, you know
The
what I'm
cream
saying?
of the gorilla crop. I got
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you don't want to get like a traumatized gorilla baby that doesn't take the human consciousness or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Understood. Okay, I'm
that's
with you now.
kind of,
That's a whole other podcast right there.
oh my God. Yeah. That's like, so that's the reason why they would fuse chromosome 2
Yeah.
is that eventually they would have something they could put their consciousness in.
Right.
And what he was saying was they might have not even meant to do it right then. Like their ship got shot down, their home planet might be fucked. So they're like,
While we're here.
let's set this up like a good example of this would be to think about like Jacques Cousteau and all them.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
when they were
Exploration.
discovering the earth
Gotcha.
and exploring, they would find an abandoned island and they would plant hemp seeds
Right.
and put pigs on there. Not because they were going to settle it, but if they went somewhere and had to come back that way, by the time they
It would
came
already
back,
be there.
the hemp would have grown and they could make more sales.
Yeah.
They could slaughter the pigs and eat them.
Have food. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
They're pre-planning. Gotcha.
Side note, this is why the goats are a symbol of the devil, because when they put goats on an island, the goats would just eat absolutely everything on the island, and then it would be dead when they came back.
Yeah.
And all the goats would be dead.
Yeah. So they'd be like, what the hell happened? And the
Yeah.
goats killed everything. The goats are satanic. The goats
Yeah.
murder everything. The goats eat each other. The goats eat all the trees, all the plant life.
Yeah. So goats are kind of a symbol of destruction.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. Back at it. So like I said, if you don't want to read the whole book or listen to the whole book, you can go watch this 50-minute YouTube video I watched. It's kind of like a synopsis of the whole book.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring you back into like all the alien like visitations and stuff. Oh, I should mention that Bruce wrote the book with his wife. I feel like I've been shortchanging her this whole episode because she is a co-author and she's in the book a lot too. Okay, so let's talk about the way Bruce got into this.
Okay.
Time are we at?
I like you're on a first name basis with him.
Yeah, me and Bruce doesn't know who the fuck I am. But I tweeted at him today. I was like, "Are you shadow banned? Because I can't find shit." And he never messaged me back.
I was gonna ask you, yeah.
I'm just thinking that's because he's in a different time zone.
Yeah.
Not because he doesn't know who I am or care anything about me.
It's Boxing Day today.
That might be something too.
Hanging out with his family.
It is considered a stat holiday, which, hey, I'll take all the stat holidays and make podcast episodes I can.
Hell yeah.
So what happened was Bruce was my friend Bruce researching a different book that he wrote, and it was Ancient Aliens in Australia. Because one of the things, if you look into the lore and the fables of the Aborigines in Australia, they talk about they're the first persons, like the first humans on Earth, and they talk about the past dream time when these dream beings created humans. So
That's in
Bruce was like, that's weird.
That's in the Kokopelli stories. So you know those like have you ever heard the Kokopelli stuff? It's like
No, I have not.
You'll know it when you see it. Look up the Kokopelli, and it's like they're the Aboriginal Australian people.
Oh,
they're
the Far From Grooving guys.
Yeah, the Far From Grooving guys. Yeah, okay. AKA yeah. But that's that whole jam. Is that all relates back to the Star People and and all of that stuff too. That's the Australian Aboriginal like connection to the outside universe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, and this is where Fenton gets into, he feels like it's a synchronicity that he was like kind of guided along his research to get him. Because it's like, if you think about it, like me finding a kernel and then going down the rabbit hole It's like me just following what I find, like happenstance, and it's all fluke. But you could think about it maybe as one of these Nordic guides is trying to guide us along the path. And one of the reasons that, and Bruce Fenton is saying one of the reasons why all of this is coming out now is because human technology and human awareness is finally at a stage where we can understand like the genome and the splicing and stuff, because we just invented CRISPR and all that stuff. So theoretically, we could start doing some of this stuff ourselves with turning on and off different genes and how they come. Because the way CRISPR works is you take that chromosome structure I was talking about before, and you find the genes, and you can turn them on or off to like, because that way different things will be expressed in the human being coming out. So if you like I said, those, like I named those genes, and if there's like something bad that happens with them, this is what happens. So if you go into the gene and you're like, well, I want someone really smart, so you turn on all these genes that affect the neurodevelopment, then your brain will grow bigger and you'll be way smarter.
Cool. I wish I got the hair one. That'd be cool.
I wish, yeah, you make a time zone and all you do is, instead of going and making out with your mom like Marty McFly did, you just
yeah, go back and get hair.
you go to your parents and you take like your little embryos and you just start turning on all these genes.
Cool. I'm gonna have long, lustrous, thick, beautiful hair. Yeah.
I wonder how different, wouldn't that be great if you did that and you come back to Earth, like back to now,
The original
and your
timeline.
life is just fucking
so much
trash.
better. Oh,
just trash because you had way too much confidence.
Yeah.
You didn't learn anything or adapt in the different situations in life when you had to.
100%. I'd be like, Dale, I'm coming to get you in my IROC, and I never advanced past that.
Actually, that does sound pretty rad. We're gonna go look at dicks in my IROC. Yeah.
The hair's flowing around behind us. Hey man, fill up your Yeti with this. Let's get going.
All right, we're already an hour in.
Oh my god. It's, you know what? When I'm with you, it's like time stands still.
I know, right? It's like there's a time bubble and you're like, wait, what time? What?
Yeah, that's so like where are we at? So we're talking about now, like, is that gene? Here's Geoff being serious for 5 seconds during the podcast. So now, is that gene set up for future, kind of like future considerations? It's like the whole jam was to get that gene spliced together.
Yeah.
Sorry, the chromosomes spliced together so that they can come back, and at some point when they need us to either supplant consciousness, create new people, create new aliens, they come back and travel back in time, travel back in space, whatever, come back and make more of their kind, if their kind is in some kind of crisis where they don't where they can't replicate, or they need more people, they need more aliens, I guess, not people, but like, is that sort of the theory, or where are we going?
That's exactly it.
All right, I nailed it.
Nice. Yeah. So also another thing that, like, there's this thing that happened, like, if you look at what the fuck's his name? I talk about it all the time, but in ancient South American, like, lore and carvings and stuff, they have stuff that look like Nordic people, like they look like European dudes with beards. Oh, Quetzalcoatl was not only a serpent, like a feathered serpent, he was the guy who supposedly brought their society like farming and technology and taught them all this stuff. So this could have been another Nordic alien kind of ushering along these little monkey people that they've made to make sure they go in the right area, because there's been times where humans were almost wiped out for whatever reason. Yes.
Side note.
Yeah.
Harkening back to a previous Dale Show episode on which I guest hosted. So remember that whole theory about how Hitler and the Nazis came across and parked in South America? Could there be a connection to that as well? In some, how am I going?
Yeah, like if they were looking for, like if they were going to go to South America to look for maybe alien artifacts or tech, that could be one of the reasons why they ended up there.
So on a previous Dale show, Dale and I talked about Hitler, the Nazis, South America, and the not necessarily Nordic aliens, but how much Nordic mythology was involved with Nazism, and then drawing that all across Nordic aliens, Nordic Nazi symbols, Nazis going to South America, Quetzalcoatl, Nordic possible DNA.
Damn,
Did I just
son.
tie some shit together? Or
Oh,
is
you
this
just
somebody
tied
else?
some shit together.
All right.
It's
So
true. That's the
Yeah.
hardest thing about all this stuff.
trying to stay on
is
track.
like you just tie so much together, like
Yeah.
all the stuff that Bruce is talking about. Like he never talked about Quetzalcoatl and the Nordic aliens being the same as the Europeans of all that stuff.
Right.
That was just me because I knew that stuff from before.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this crystalline ship, it gets blown up, they come down, they splice the humans together. And Bruce actually does a really good job of talking about how this might not work, because when you get a mutation in the chromosome, usually it gets bred out right away because it's detrimental
Right.
and it's not strong enough for everybody to do it. Like
Yeah.
for the giraffes, basically to grow their neck long and eat all the leaves off the
Leaves
tall
off the higher.
trees,
Yeah.
it had to be beneficial. Otherwise, they would just have all
Short necks.
they would all have like the
It'd
shortcomings.
be a
All
fucking
the
horse.
the bad aspects of having a long neck
Yeah.
wouldn't outweigh.
Would outweigh the need
Yeah,
for it.
They
Yeah.
would die. They'd be easier. Like
Dude,
so.
yeah.
Some of the stuff he was talking about, like, because if we're like proto-humans and we're before the Denisovans, Neanderthals, and stuff, and we're like fighting for survival, all of a sudden having babies that are way more dependent on the mother isn't going to help anybody.
Right.
And also you almost need society for these babies to be able to be born and reared, because if we're talking like cavemen,
it takes a village, Dale. It takes a village.
If we're talking like one or two people out hunting for enough meat to survive, they can't do that with a baby in tow. So they have to have like a home base,
community,
where there's people to look after the babies. So one of the things he was saying was they would have to do this where they could control, like basically the aliens would have to do this experiment in a secluded place where they could control it. So he's saying this all happened in Australia, which is also
secluded place.
Yeah.
It's basically a huge island
And
with low population, and yeah.
And one of the things he points out is that's where you find all these they're called like they're little buttons or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're pieces of the crystalline ship that when it exploded in space, it would have melted into little blobs, like because the ships are made mostly of silica, and then it would have solidified in the vacuum of space, and then on re-entry they would have
warm
melted
up
again.
Yeah.
So that's like he goes into like detail on how these buttons look like. That's what happened. I don't want to like.
That's interesting.
No, I know. Hour podcast.
but that totally makes sense, right? Like, it's re-entry, reheating, the silica changes shape.
Yeah.
Comes back and ends up as glass in the desert.
So let's go get back to where Bruce Fenton is talking about how the synchronicities that led him to doing this. So when he was researching that ancient aliens in Australia book, the people he was using to talk to as research told him about this Valerie Barrow chick who wrote the book Alturanga. And then she was one of the ones who was like first talking about the aliens and the humans interacting. And he was like, okay. So Valerie had this house, which she named Alturanga, which is the Aborigine word for dreamtime. So someone heard that her house was called Alturanga, and had a sacred object, which is called a churinga, which is basically a stone. And he was like, look, your house, this is weird, because he's like, your house is named Alturanga, which means dreamtime in Aborigine. So I figure this would be a good spot for this sacred object for safekeeping. So he gave her the churinga, which was wrapped up, and she like didn't look at it or touch it, because it's like, you're not supposed to touch these like Aborigine sacred objects unless you're initiated by the tribe or whatever. It's like super disrespectful. So she kind of took it while it was still wrapped up and hid it. And then she starts hearing a voice talking to her telepathically. And then this is where you could get into the Nordics kind of guiding humans by talking to them and ushering them along the way. I don't know what time this was all happening, but I'd imagine like it's still
closer to now than
the
to
last
780,000
years.
Yeah.
Because she's a person who's still alive that Bruce had talked to. Okay. So she was saying that there was a visitation hundreds of thousands of years ago, and the artifacts were left, like these Chiringa artifacts were left by those aliens. So this thing she got as a package might have been basically like an alien walkie-talkie that they could channel their voice through and talk. And then this is where she comes up with a huge ship in orbit. So I think she was the one who initially came up with this ship that got shut down.
Okay.
And then there's the first Homo sapiens, or the first ancestors of Homo sapiens sapiens, which is what we're called now,
Yeah.
which is because there's like Homo
I don't know habilis, Homo erectus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they're called that anymore. My science knowledge is a little
yeah. Now I think they're called like Homo sapiens is when we started being like looking like modern humans. So I think Homo erectus is like Homo sapiens something, and then the modern humans are Homo sapiens sapiens. So
right,
it's just one
double
of those,
up on the sapiens.
Yeah, I just don't want anybody to get hung up on that who doesn't know about that stuff.
Yeah.
Because when I first heard the term Homo sapiens sapiens, I was like, what? Who names it that?
Yeah, I think so it looks like they're just calling it modern Homo sapiens now. So you have like so it kind of goes Australopithecus, Paranthropus, advanced Australopithecus, Homo erectus, early Homo sapiens, Solo man, Rhodesian man, Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, modern Homo sapiens.
Okay.
I think they stopped calling it like double Homo or like Homo sapiens sapiens. I think they're just calling it modern Homo sapiens now.
That's a much better way to say it. Okay. And they're saying the reason I'm supposing that these people are Nordics is because they came from a wormhole in the Pleiades.
There we go. Now we got it back.
Yeah, that's how I came up. Because I want to point out that Bruce never says they're Nordic aliens. I'm saying that.
That's you making that connection.
That's where they came from. Yeah. So the stuff I was talking about, remember those little buttons I was talking about?
Yep.
They're called australite tektite. And you could go down a wormhole and look this up, and it'll like have what they look like and stuff. And their chemical composition is 75% silica.
Okay.
So sorry, I'm just going through my notes.
No, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because like I don't know if you know this about me specifically, but I'm a huge rock nerd. I used to work in the mining industry, and I love.
I knew you used to work
in I was geology, right? Like I fucking love rocks. Like I am a nerd about rocks. So yeah, I've heard of this the tektite before, and it's basically any silica based piece, right? Oh, my earbuds over here.
That's our second
rock thing.
No, our second like coincidence. Like
that's two today. Yeah,
the second chromosome, and you know about this australite tektite.
Yeah, so
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've never heard about this shit before in my life.
So this happens. They find these things in mines in Australia like all the time, right? Because it's in when they're mining other stuff.
Oh, see, that's awesome that you said that, because he was like, they only find this stuff in Australia, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
you, Bruce. But now we have a second opinion.
Yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about those. I know like what they look like, and they're like kind of dark, like almost gray black, kind of like they're dark, like little circles they look like so if I can like describe it, they look like you know when a drop of water goes in and then it hits in a circle and it goes in, and then there's like a rim of water that comes up underneath it. It looks like that. So it looks like a water drop like got frozen in time.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
I don't know how to explain that. I mean, I guess you can look it up, but that's sort of like, so when you say a button, it doesn't look like a button that you sew on. It looks like a milk dud with a rim around the outside edge, or like a junior mint with a rim around the outside edge.
Yeah. Okay.
So imagine a drop them. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, they're really cool looking.
So they dated these things to 7,800 or 7,800.
780,000. It is hard to say.
And he says that if they took all of the tektite material and it came from an asteroid, it would have had to make like a crater a kilometer wide. Yeah. So because one of the things people say is like all these tektite things, they came from an asteroid, not an alien ship. But he's just saying, like, he just points out how Earth isn't big enough to trap an asteroid that big to leave it in the in rotation of the Earth, because the way these formed is they exploded and then re-entered. So he's just saying that it wasn't a comet that got exploded and stuff because
Yeah.
okay.
Gravitational pull would be
Yeah.
different
And
on it.
he was saying I don't know if I said this before, but this crystalline ship supposedly had an AI in it, and you're like, well, that's crazy. But one thing I don't think people really know is that the computers we use, the reason it's called Silicon Valley and stuff is because it's all like crystals and silica shit, because that because you can
Disruptive.
process information through silica to in order of 7 magnitudes faster than the human brain.
Yeah.
So, and it's fun. Like I always think about this as a side note. I'm always like, people are like, oh, crystal reading and energy is bullshit and all this stuff. I was like, we all have crystals that have energy shot through them in our homes because basically every computer
That's
we
how
have.
TV works.
Yeah.
So, right?
Basically. Yeah.
Cathode
Basically,
ray
we just have
technology is based around sending a
all of-
signal
yeah.
through like so a filament. Oh, look at this. So you see that?
Oh,
That is a guitar tube.
okay.
Okay. So the whole theory behind this is the filaments have basically either metal or silica based filaments inside of them that you run energy through. It's in a vacuum and it creates power. So like literally since the beginning of time and like early television, early radio, transistors, all that shit is like either oil or minerals of some sort that you send a signal through. So it's not like out of the question to think of it as silicone. Silica is like, of course, it processes faster. It's a conductor of waves and sonic energy. So anyway, I digress.
If you want to go off the deep end with this, follow me along. You could even suppose that these Nordic aliens who've been kind of watching us and guiding us this whole way would have made us develop computers using crystals on purpose so that we would eventually have the technological ability to make a crystal ship.
It's already there. It's already here. It's part of the fabric of our society.
They're laying the baseline.
They're laying the baseline.
Crystal based.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So I'm not boring you with all this.
No, it's the ASMR voice. It's really making me sleepy.
Sexy voice. Yeah. So these are all the notes I took as I was watching that video. So
nice.
You should
at 3 a.m. Are you one of those people that keeps notepads beside your bed so that you can write shit down when you think about it?
No, we have computers and phones. I just put them in the notes on my phone.
I literally have a pen and a notepad beside my bed in case I come up with something in the middle of the night.
Well, I'm one of those people who doesn't come up with good ideas in my dreams. It's like if I had notes, it would be like, I have to buy a gun to fight bear people. And stuff like that.
That seems like that's a book I want to read right there.
There you go.
The crazy ramblings of Dale.
The best thing to digress, the best thing to do would be if I came up with ideas and I had a person who wrote books, because I've got like at least 10 books worth of ideas.
So a ghostwriter?
Yeah, and zero drive to finish a book, because I started a werewolf novel like 6 years ago where, spoiler alert, werewolves come from the interbreeding of Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens.
So 0% lupine.
Yeah.
Like no wolf actually evolved.
It's not like an actual wolf.
Okay. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Side notes. Did I ever tell you about about my back tattoo idea?
No.
It's a werewolf like howling at the moon, but then I get my wife to like so that when they draw it in, they leave the exposed parts of the werewolf empty, and then I just get my wife to shave my back like around the side, but I leave the hair in the parts where the werewolf's howling at the moon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's like natural, my actual back hair as the werewolf.
That's awesome. I had an idea for like a full side pinup girl, but she's like totally sexy and like breasts out, but her head is a werewolf and she's holding up 3 vampire heads.
Oh, that's hot.
That would be so rad.
Oh my god.
That's a lot of money though to get a tattoo.
That's a lot of it's a few grand in tattooing right there.
And it would hurt so
much. I'm sorry, I got you way off topic. I heard werewolves, and I've been thinking about this
Hey.
idea for years. I'm gonna get my back tattooed into a hairy
Whatever.
werewolf.
Screw the audience. Let's talk about werewolves. I'm in. I'm just
I
kidding.
dig it. Okay.
I
So-
love werewolves.
So next on the Dale Show, I will ghostwrite Dale's werewolf sex novel for you.
Okay. I'm gonna try. The one bad. Okay.
And read
Here's a
it in
look
an
behind the
ASMR
curtain,
voice.
guys.
Okay.
If you go and you want to host a podcast and you're like, I'm just going to take a whole bunch of notes and I'll remember what they all mean and make them flow together in real time as I'm going along, doesn't always
Doesn't
work
work
that
that
way.
way.
Because I got these notes and I have to keep being like, so I have these
Where the
notes.
hell am I?
Yeah. Skip, and because we're skipping around too, which is hard. But
And I'm probably not the best co-host. I'll just interrupt you with bullshit stuff. But I'm trying to keep you on track, but it's terrible. I'm not that
yeah. So in that video I was watching, Bruce came up with these different pieces of proof to like kind of say, this is why I think this is what happened. And then more stuff about, shit. There's this thing I didn't bring up where he was saying 5 years after the ship exploded, there was like an asteroid bombing of Earth where like it could have been the aliens who it's I'm going to leave it out because it doesn't really mean anything.
But does it change the timeline or does it change the efficacy of anything?
It would be 780,000 years ago minus 5 years because it was like, but it was just like the other aliens who blew up the crystalline ship came back and tried to get rid of the alien survivors that made it to Earth.
Okay.
And they had set specific, actually, I'll talk about it because we're this deep.
We're here.
Because in Alien War, I brought up this thing where to get back at the people doing the war against other aliens, they disabled the asteroid defense mechanisms of Earth and stuff, and they shot asteroids at the Earth. But that's kind of what Bruce was saying this other alien race did, was they shot a bunch of asteroids at Earth, and there's a bunch of impacts that match up with the timeline of around 780,000 years ago.
Okay.
And that's Darwin Crater in Tasmania, Meteor Crater in Arizona. There's an unnamed impact site under Antarctica, which is the same size, or the asteroid would have been the same size as the one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So he was saying those craters are just proof that Earth was hit with some asteroids on purpose because they all hit right around the same time. And then he was saying like these could have reversed the magnetic pole, and then
that's a pretty popular theory though, that like that the poles of magnets are my other thing that I really like.
Oh really?
Magnets.
Oh nice.
I love magnetism and I love rocks.
What was that that ICP song about magnets? Like,
There's
what are magnets?
Oh my god! I didn't even know there was an ICP song about magnets.
Hey,
now I'm gonna look that up.
Total side note: if you're into like magnets and the magnetic pole of the Earth and stuff, you should look up why Tesla was building his towers on the 33rd parallel.
Yeah, there's so that
because they say the pyramids could have been giant.
They're on
magnets.
But not anymore because of the asteroids. And they've moved the magnetic usefulness of the pyramids by the axis of the Earth tilting slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
there's so many like
there's so many tangents forever.
Oh, we just keep bringing up all these like little rabbit holes you could jump down.
Oh my god, so many.
What I said about the notes and how they don't always make sense. Yeah. This could actually be another reason why these aliens hybridize humans, because after they get shot down and they come down to Earth, and then these other asteroids come back, they're like, shit, we might be dead. So that might be why they took these humans, because right after the asteroids is like the time all this human stuff happens. So, and what happens is at 780,000 years ago, human brain development goes into our overdrive. And like, if you look back at a chart, it just kind of just fucking shoots up where our brain starts growing. And one of the reasons why it's weird that this happened is because all other mammals, within a range, their brains are in relation to their body size, there's always like the same ratio.
Yeah.
That's why like gorillas have bigger heads than like chimpanzees, and then like so that's another.
It's only in mammals though, right?
Yeah, that's
Because I know
another
like
anomalous thing about humans.
right, because like birds don't have the same issue. They have very small
Yeah.
brains comparatively, and like, but most mammals have brains that are roughly equivalent in size based on scale.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
okay.
why when you get to like whales and stuff, they're smarter and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Dolphins, man,
mhm.
that's another side note.
I'm gonna have to just start the Dale Show side notes where we just talk about all the
Yeah,
stuff we bring up.
sorry. So I'm doing a shitty job of keeping you on track. A,
Hey, no.
I didn't know what we were talking about coming into it, and B, yeah, like I can't focus on anything
Hey,
anymore.
as long as this is interesting.
Oh, totally.
Shout out to top listener Brady. If he finds, because he's one time he was like, Dale, I binged your whole podcast. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Cool.
Like, this is one of the best compliments I ever got. So it's like, I'm always like, if one or two people find this interesting, that's enough for me, because I just like making the podcast, because it's like
this is your legacy, man.
Yeah, you and me, we have this past where we were both working for University Press, the Omega, at the Thompson Rivers University, and we never got paid. Or well, you got paid because you were the editor.
Not a lot.
But we were just doing it because we wanted to make a newspaper.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
So it's like, this is the same thing where it's like, I'm
It is the same
still in the mindset where it's like, I get to make a podcast for free, and it's fucking rad because I can just make this thing and put it out in the world, and anybody can fucking see it. Like, that might be an our age thing, because when you and me.
Yeah, because we didn't have this. We didn't have this growing up, right? It was very much gate kept by certain people, right? Like if you think about the newspapers and stuff that we worked for in the past, there was an editor, there was a publisher, there were people that like kept us in check, and you're like, you can't express your opinion. You have to write the way the paper wants you to write. You have to, you know, God, it makes me sound so old when I say that, because newspapers aren't even a thing anymore, right? Like literally you had to write. Like I remember, I'll keep the specifics out of it, but I remember writing an article. I had to review a vehicle from a North American vehicle manufacturer, and I reviewed the vehicle and I wrote the piece about the vehicle, and it was not favorable toward the vehicle. And I was asked by my editor to revise the vehicle review, because running on a page beside it was the local dealership for the vehicle, and they were going to pay big money, but they wanted the review to fit with everybody knows what this is like, right? Like, they wanted the review to like be favorable to the vehicle, because they're literally paying us a shit ton of money, which technically paid my wage. They wanted it to be, you know, you can't talk about this, don't talk about that, because it runs in conjunction with getting paid for running the ad for that. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, it doesn't do that. It's not a good car, right? Like, right. And they're like, you got to change it. So I had to like go back and edit pieces out, and they took some other pieces out of it and changed some of my actual review so that it looked favorable to the vehicle that was running next to the ad for the vehicle to the local dealership who was basically paying my wage. So it was like at that moment where I got kind of jaded about journalism. And now I'm like, this is cool. We get to talk about, this is another side note, but it fits with my mantra of like, got to stay curious. Right. Yeah. And like, maybe this is all bullshit, but I get to spend a little bit of time with a buddy of mine, and we can talk about things that's interesting.
Like,
because if you don't, like dicks, and if you don't remain curious, and you don't keep questioning things, and you don't keep thinking critically about the world around you, what's the fucking point? Right.
And the thing is about these newspapers was the reason they needed that car advertisement, because to print a newspaper is so fucking expensive. Like all that paper, and then getting the physical paper around all the cities, and like where it's like
production, distribution, create like when we printed newspapers, we had to like, they took photos that printed to brass plates, and the plates were etched, and then the plates went in to a machine that rolled all four colors of the newspaper, CMYK. Still in use today, but like it rolls the different colors to create the images on these different plates. It's this fucking ridiculous process. There were hundreds, 50 or so people that worked on the press,
Yeah.
right? And like in shifts to keep it running. It's like it made no it like when you think about it technologically, it made no sense to do
Yeah.
that. And now you and I can sit down, we can read, research, discuss a few things, and then produce this, record it, put it up on the internet, and people can look at it if they want. And I understand that there's, we're a very small fish in a giant ocean of stuff like this. But like when you think about how much time and effort it took to produce information before, now it's a lot easier, and we can remain more curious without restrictions on that. I think that's the genius of it.
And that's just why I love making podcasts, because me and Jeff, like I wanted to be a radio host when I was like in my teens, and I could never do that because I needed someone to build a radio and project it.
Build a
But now with the
station.
internet and our computers, we could just record this and put it out there. And if you want to listen to it, you can find it. If you don't, whatever, it's still something I made and I like.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you get to put your own authentic stamp on something and just be fun and live in a different world and think about something differently in the course of a couple hours. Damn it, Dale, it's an hour and a half already.
Oh, is it? Shut.
Yeah.
I think we're almost done.
Okay.
We're almost through my notes on Bruce Fenton. So it's like
cool. Your friend Bruce, your good friend Bruce Fenton.
Me and Bruce, we go way back to like 3 weeks ago when I decided I was gonna do this when I was listening to his book. So yeah, like I said, this would have had this like one of the things he talks about going back to now we're at where humans had their shit spliced. So we're growing slower because it takes time for our brains, because it used to be like, if you look at monkeys, their lifespan is shorter, but it's like they turn into adult monkeys way quicker than we do. Like for us, it takes 21 to 25 years before we're done physically growing. And like our fucking brainy shit isn't done fully maturing till we're 25. So that's a long fucking time. Like that's longer than a lot of mammals' entire lifespan. Like dogs are like 16-ish.
Yeah.
So
cats are like max 20 kind of thing. Right?
So you would have to like, and this is all to like, I guess, get us to be like proper vessels for aliens. So it's like, you got to stop, you got to like slow down the maturation of the human fetus so it can be passed through the woman's birthing canal before we destroy it. So it's like we're babies, or we're born earlier in our development. So we're more, like I said this before on the pod, so we're more useless and we can't defend ourselves. So we need the mother to basically dedicate all her time to looking after us. So she can't help the hunter gatherers. So she kind of has to just like raise this baby. And then if you get like, you got to get people to protect the babies from the predators and the mothers who are looking out for the babies. So you have like two groups you have to save. And I think that's probably why in our reptilian brain, it's always like women and children first.
Yeah.
Because it was like, because if you like think about the way stuff develops, we have certain like software that comes in our brain just there. And that would be like why we're scared of the dark, why we're scared of fire, because we know it's bad for you. So this would be like one of those things that just comes ingrained where we got to save the women and children because they're our future.
Yeah, they're the chance
because
for procreation.
Without them, the aliens don't have vessels.
so it gives life meaning now. I've been wondering, people always ask why are we here? And I think a lot of it is because if we're not here, then the aliens have no way to procreate. So we need to be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like there's your answer. So stop asking why am I here?
If you're depressed and you're having a hard time mentally because it's dark outside and you're like, oh, you're having suicidal thoughts, you just got to say, I can't do this because then a Nordic alien can't come take over my body and be I can't wreck this temple for a Nordic alien.
I don't want to be the cog. I don't want to be the wrench in the cog of the universe.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
So he's like saying like this happened in Australia. And then if you go look up like anthropology stuff, there's like studies that found that humans came out of like Australia, then went up and then into Eurasia and then went into Africa and then came back out of Africa. So it's like in layman's terms, it's like, I don't know. Basically anthropologically you can see that humans came out of Australia, and this is one of those things why. Oh, and then he was talking about how there's regions of non-coding in our DNA. Like this is what I was talking about with CRISPR before.
Yeah.
They're non-coding means that like they're not, like basically it's like if you have a car, there's like all these options you can add to the car. That's the non-coding DNA. So it's like if you want air conditioning, you just flip
Yeah.
off the piece of DNA that has air conditioning, and then your car, when it's being made in the factory, gets air conditioning. So there's all these pieces of non-coding DNA that can be turned off or turned off, and this is called the expression of genes. And if you knew how to control these properly, you could like kind of change the way humans grow and stuff, i.e. our brain increase and stuff. And then they had found there's like, if the like scientists and stuff, they looked at the human DNA and the genome and stuff, and they found hundreds of these on and off switches and stuff, and they're mostly to do with like neural development.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, so it's like kind of like, did the aliens put these switches in so they could flip them all on off so our brains grew bigger and stuff? And yeah. And so
give us more hair or
yeah.
less hair. It'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, if we could, you know, and I think there's like maybe some of the science that we're seeing now, like where they're talking about not necessarily gene splicing, but like trying to do research on how to like change genetic defects at birth and like that kind of thing, where you have to wonder why people are against that, or like certain segments of people are gonna say, you can't do that, you're playing God. I'm like, we're trying to fix genetic defects so people can have long, healthy, happy lives and be like normal. I know that's not really the right way to say it, but like, is there a way to turn a gene off so that someone doesn't have Down syndrome, or is Down syndrome the selected is Down syndrome like the next evolution in human development? Like, this is one of those things, right? Like, what is the
and it's
the sort
like
of end game of genetics? I'm like, how does it work?
Like, if
we still don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, and if you look at humans, like where we came from to where we are, like nobody knows. They're not like, oh, this is all because of this. Like Bruce's ideas on like with our brain growing and stuff happening 780,000 years ago. Like the true fact is our brain grew that much 780,000 years ago. We don't know why. There's no answer to it.
Yeah.
And also he's like, mostly he's explaining this in a way that makes sense so that it could have happened. Like, it doesn't mean this is why this all happened or this is how this all happened. He's just saying, well, this is what would have to happen. Like if we were just born with, if our chromosomes just fused on their own, it would be like a mutation, and we would just have died. And like if our brain just started growing out of nowhere, the mom wouldn't be able to birth us, and then we'd be like born with like, because
there have to be controls on some of it.
Yeah, like we as a human, if you're born, you can't hold your own head up till you're like 6 months old.
Yeah.
Like how is that being gonna survive in the wild?
Right.
Yeah. So that's basically all I have. I felt like, I don't know, so whenever we come wrap these up, I'm always like, is that enough? Did I explain everything?
And Finn.
Yeah.
Did
I feel as guilty as I do? It's like after sex.
Soft crying into the pillow.
I thought this was going to solve all my problems.
Yeah. How come I don't feel better?
TV told me this is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. If I've learned nothing from Andy's movies, it's that sex cures everything. Yeah, it's actually like an interesting thing to think about. Like, I know we're trying to wrap it up, and I'm just trying to like put into summation the totality of the podcast. It is an interesting theory to think that like potentially the reason for our being is just to be vessels for potential alien body colonization. It's a weird theory. I mean, like, we can't answer that, like, why are we here thing. How did we become, like, nobody knows how to answer this stuff, and it's like the pervasive question to people that we try to answer throughout our lives, and we can never answer. Like, why the hell are we humans? Why do we get to talk to each other? Why are we the only beings on the planet that communicate in this fashion? Why are we the only beings in this planet that make podcasts? Like, what is the deal with that? But why? Right? Like, it's thinking about the unanswered questions and putting theories to them and positing those theories. And like, sure, maybe it's fucking total crackpot stuff, right? Maybe 780,000 years ago, something happened and we've been implanted with this genetic ability to recreate things. Maybe that's true. Who the hell knows, right? But like, at least it's thinking about it. It's a theory. It's like putting some kind of perspective, to why the fuck we do anything that we do. Yeah. And it's not out of the question to think that maybe we are just vessels for eventual recolonization of Nordic aliens. It's kind of fun to think about that.
And like, it's like, the other thing too is there's so much stuff. Like, one thing I like about Bruce's thing was he, like in that video I was talking about, he talks about like the synchronicities of him coming to this. And I like, right. And the weird thing about all this stuff is, like Geoff was saying, like, we don't know what we're here for and stuff. It's like, there's so much we can explain along the path. Like, if you even just like think of this like as woo-woo, like where we are spiritually in our own emotional development and how we end up where we end up, like as our personality and stuff. Like, you think back to, I guess you could call them like sliding doors, like all these little choices in your life, like that Gwyneth Paltrow movie where it's like, if you take one choice, you don't even know it's a choice at the time, but there's so many things like, should I have stayed with that girl? Should I have married my wife? Should I have had my kid? Should I have moved here? Should I have kept this job? All of these add up to where you are now. And it's like, you think about it and you're like, what if I was being guided through this? Like, not like fate and I had no choice in my own destiny, but what if there was sort of like a gentle like convincing for us to go one way? Because we all make the decisions we make on our life for different reasons. Like, totally. Do I want to work for more money or do I want to be more fulfilled?
Yes, totally. Man, I asked myself that question literally yesterday with my brother-in-law. Oh, and it's God.
Like that choice, why would being happy matter to us, and right. Why would having more money matter to us, unless there's something deep within? Like, where does that whatever's in there come from that makes us want one more than the other?
So here's, I can even put it to, like, this isn't going to really be effective for everybody listening, other than, let's take you and I, for example, right? I'm just a little bit older than you, like a couple of years, not very much, right? You're the same age as my brother. I think I'm 3 years older than you, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you're the same age as my brother then.
Yeah, exactly. So you and I met in university, right? We studied the same kind of program. We went our separate ways. You moved to Calgary. I stayed in Kamloops for a little bit. I didn't see you for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I started talking to you again. And then we like met here. We both moved to the Greater Vancouver area.
Yeah.
We
Burnaby
reconnected.
Specifically.
Burnaby specifically.
Like, we live
like 100 meters from each other. Yeah, like it's wild.
Weirdly.
And it's like, how the fuck did that happen? And then like, how did we start talking and become back on the podcasting? I'm like, oh, I know Dale. We met. And I'm like, I had you over for dinner one night, just randomly. And we like hung out. This is my wife and my child. And right. And like, what is that gentle push that puts us together? So like, if you even think about that kind of stuff, right? Like, there's no reason realistically that you and I should hang out. I mean, we had fun in university together, learning how to become journalists. Then we went our separate ways, and then somehow we fucking magically got back together again. And like, how did that even happen? Like, what are the forces that put that in there? Spliced DNA.
It's funny that our personalities are still so mutually gratifying. Like,
totally.
Like how we could still hang out, we get along so well because we've like known each other over 20 years. Like, I met you 23 years ago was the first time I met you.
Yeah. I was like, I was just over 20 when I met you.
Yeah. And like you said, there was a 10-year gap and we hung out and it was just like, we're good.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing to address. We're fine. Yeah. It's not like other people where it's like you meet them 20 years later and you're like, who the fuck
are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Just like,
oh, what the hell happened?
It's like whatever we did all of our sliding glass door decisions
Choices.
we made, like
Led
wearing
us
a
back
black
to here.
t-shirt today and glasses.
The uniform of the plus 40 male.
Yeah, we ended up almost on the same page.
Yeah, totally.
So that's good.
Yeah.
What else is good? Oh, there's this thing called the Akashic Record. And I wanted to bring this up because I haven't brought it up on a podcast yet because it doesn't really fit in anywhere. But basically,
I saw this on Ancient Aliens.
Did you? Wow.
Yeah, I totally did the Akashic Record. I totally did. Yeah. Go ahead.
Talk about a good head of hair.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
He must have CRISPR'd his own. Okay. But the Akashic Record is basically just, there's this like group of information just out in space and humans can tap into it. And Jacques Vallée talks about this in some of his books. And it's like, some people call it downloading. And it would be like how this woman felt that like the Chiringa was talking to her. That would have been like considered access to the Akashic Record, where it's just like all this information and wisdom can just come to you like in your dreams. And some people call it like the muse, because like people are like who write music or do art, they get this inspiration from somewhere.
Yeah.
So basically the Akashic Record is like whatever tells people to write music or write novels and all this stuff. So what if the Akashic Record is just the Nordic aliens looking after us?
Yeah, telling us to make a podcast.
Yeah, guiding us childlike humans
muse.
along the way.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I don't know. Like, okay, suppose you could say say if you wanted to meet a Nordic alien or not, would you?
I think I would like to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to meet an alien because I have questions. Right? Like it's not even
a nice alien, a good one.
Yeah, not one of the probing kind of aliens.
Yeah, not one of the grays or
butthole.
reptilians that are supposed to be like using humans as a resource, like the way we use cattle.
I think that like in my heart of hearts, I do feel like it's a lot more like that. Like they're going to be more advanced than us, and they're going to look at us as a subspecies, right? They're going to look at us like we look at gorillas, or like, you know, a 1 or 2 levels removed, of levels of development removed, right? Like, they're or like some kind of classist kind of feel to it, you know, where they're going to look at us as lower class beings for sure. Right?
I just thought of something hilarious. What if, in more ways than one, the relationship between us and aliens is like us and gorillas, and like the grays come and we're basically as strong as a gorilla is to us, we're that strong to grays.
Yeah,
and it's like they could be like, they would have to like trap us or whatever with their like mesmerizing thing, but if they don't, we could just like grab them by the legs and whip them against a wall or something.
Yeah, right. Like, well, like even when you see even like movie like depictions of aliens, they're always thin and frail and small. Like we could fucking take them.
Yeah, the war is just us yeeting aliens,
just fucking yeeting them, right? like a little kid at a party, just spinning them around, like, ooh, airplane ride.
Yeah,
right. And that's
like they planted all of this horrific movies and TV to make us scared of aliens, so they don't
so that
realize
we
can
when
just
they
like
show up. Yeah, we could fucking murder them by hand, right? Like, just caving in alien domes with like so easy. This is ridiculous. Why are we scared of these idiots the whole time? Yeah, like just absolute physical prowess over the aliens. We can learn so much from them.
Wait, we can advance your species. Karate chop.
Just hacking limbs off of their bare heads. Yeah, like these fucking guys are just a joke. Yeah, there's a movie right there.
How's this for a movie? We get like an 80s kung fu style, like same treatment, and it's a dude fighting aliens, and he's just like karate chop, and he chops aliens and stuff.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And it would just be like some schmo.
Now you must die. Yeah, it's a schmo.
Some schmo gets abducted by aliens,
yeah,
and the brain mesmerizer doesn't work for whatever reason.
He's dull. Yeah, as a human, he's that dull.
And it just turns out like just regular human strength, and he
Yeah.
just overpowers them and stuff.
But like accidentally figures out that he can just pulp an alien without any trouble.
Oh
And
yeah.
then starts just karate chopping them and making it look really cool.
And
Holy
who would you
shit.
get to act in that? Who would be the best? Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. Totally. It's like, yeah, total 100%.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Michael Cera, people, talk to
Michael
me.
Cera,
I
absolutely.
gotta pitch you this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You could play the exact same character you always play because it's hilarious and I love you.
Yeah.
But you're fighting aliens.
That's
and you
perfect.
end up just being like
Yeah.
having like what would be super strength, but it's just because they're weak.
What the guy from Napoleon Dynamite, what's his name? John
Heater?
John Heater. Yeah, John Heater and Michael Cera. They both get abducted, and that's the plot. They're beating up.
It's like a buddy cop.
a buddy cop alien destruction movie.
They gotta save the
beat this
world.
alien up. Leave me alone. Feeding him right. Oh boy. Yeah.
Well, how do
Or the guys from
feel
Letterkenny?
Oh, well, those guys are tough as shit anyway.
No, totally. Oh, that Gray's trying to beat me up. I'll totally take him down.
So an alien comes to the farm the other day.
Totally. No way, Bod. That's not gonna happen.
Oh,
That'd be good. I like that. I'm in. I would watch that for sure.
mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah, I guess we're at a end there.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
We're
We're almost
everything.
2 hours in again, as usual.
Well, this is fine. I like talk. It's, the only thing I hate about podcasting is when you're at 45 minutes and you're like, how am I gonna stretch this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you're at when you feel like you talk so much, that's even better. Because for me personally, more how the sausage is packed. how the
Stop
cake is
using
made.
that as the reference.
It's just so funny.
It sounds like docking a little bit. How the sausage is packed. Just one goes into the other one. And you just put the thing
peek behind the. Whenever I make a podcast, what I do the old Christian mentality. It's like, make the podcast you want to listen to. And when I listen to podcasts, if they're under an hour, I'm like, because I like to put them on and then do work and stuff.
Yeah, totally. That's what I do.
So if they're under an hour, you're like, that's not worth it. But if they're
yeah, I've got this threshold. I listen to every little thing, which is great because it's 15 minutes to 25 minutes, and it's awesome for a short car ride. That one's cool, but I pay attention directly to it. And then other podcasts are an hour and a half, 2 hours long. I put the one I like to have them in the background while I'm doing other things, and I glean little bits off of them. I feel like those are funnier. The overproduced ones, you have to pay great attention to them, and you have to commit to that. And the longer podcasts, you can just kind of put them on.
It's funny you said overproduced because one of the reasons I don't like to edit podcasts and stuff is one, because it's way easier.
It takes time. Yeah.
And two is because I was listening to Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard.
Yeah.
And it's I thought that they were just doing the conversation and stuff, but then he had Audrey Plaza on.
Yeah.
And she's like an and an R, which is fine. Not everybody could talk, but you could tell they edited out all the ums and ahs.
Dude,
so
I did that for a job.
Sounded choppy.
Sounds choppy. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I actually did that for a job. I worked for a tech company, and
what job haven't you had, Jeff?
I've had a lot of jobs. So I worked for 3 months. I think I worked for this job. It was really short, but I edited a pre-recorded radio show, and the whole thing was take out the ums, take out the ahs. So he would talk for an hour and a half, and I would cut it down to an hour. I got to get it under. I had to be 48 minutes, and I would cut out ums, ahs, background shit, all that stuff. And the way he actually talked to people, and the way he sounded so professional on the radio. And then you talk to him in real life, and it's wow, this is going to take me forever to get through. So yeah, so I totally get what you're saying, right? Mm-hmm. I created high production value, and it's man, it's not real.
It's all your fault, Jeff.
All my fault. Some people want to take, especially in the tech world, people want to take that information and want the concise, they want somebody authoritarian sounding who's concise and who can get the point across quickly. So,
And they want to YouTubeize it where they have like smash cuts. So they're like,
Yep.
so today we're going to talk about chromosome 2.
yeah,
And it's
totally.
just like, and it's funny because YouTube videos now are just like shock rock drive DJs who played while you're driving in rush hour. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
come full circle.
It has come full circle. Yeah. Don't forget to smash that like button and sign up for my. Yeah. Oh my God. Fuck off with that shit. Every episode of every.
But yeah,
video
if
ever.
you could please like and
This is brought to you
subscribe.
by a mattress company.
Yeah. The only reason I'd say subscribe on Spotify is because what I've been doing lately is you just go to new episodes, and then when a new episode comes of the shows you follow comes out, you could get it there. So it's like a nice feed.
Nice.
Whereas
That's
like
cool.
searching for, because this show sadly is kind of hard to search on Spotify because it's like The Dale Show by Dale DeRuiter. My name's hard to spell. And if you just
You're not
search
SEO friendly.
yeah, if you just search The Dale Show, it doesn't always come up. So
There's another Dale show.
is there?
Yeah, it's two guys out of Florida and they're both named Dale, and it's called the Dale Show. I remember when I first joined Twitter again,
Yeah.
rejoined Twitter. I tried to find the Dale, see if you had like a Dale Show Twitter account, and two other Dale shows came up, and neither of them were you.
Oh, really?
So look up on Twitter the Dale Show on Twitter. It's two dudes in Florida doing a podcast.
Is it funnier than me?
I didn't listen to it.
Okay.
Why would I do that to you? You're the only Dale Show for me.
Okay.
I would never
Um,
betray you.
That's the, let's put that as the closing thought. Is I'm the only Dale Show you should care about, and never fucking betray me, because like
Never
God,
betray you.
I'll ruin your life.
Legit. Yep.
Okay. But I'm gonna stop recording now.
Okay. Thank you everybody for joining the Dale Show. See you
Yeah,
again
thanks for
next time.
joining. Like Jeff, I guess I should do all the social stuff. I don't have a Twitter account. You could just follow me at Super Dalebot. That's my personal Twitter account. Anything I'd say in a Dale Show Twitter, I'd say on there anyway. I don't have any dedicated social media or anything to just the Dale Show. It's just all my personal stuff. You can find all these videos if you're just listening to this in audio. I put these videos in the Outrage Factory stream, but I have made a playlist where if you don't want to watch the Outrage Factory, because it's kind of like, it's me talking with Derek and stuff, but it's not me talking about aliens as much as I want to. So you could go to the playlist of the Dale Show and it'll have all those in there. And then I still haven't started a Patreon like I said I would forever ago. I just keep forgetting. But I'm going to start one because it would be nice to have money, because I don't know if you've heard of this thing called money. It's pretty great.
Required to live.
All right. Yeah. Check you later.
Defects.